Hello, welcome back to the part two of understanding the essentials of planning the moment. We'll have a listen. We listen in at the end of the part one, the closing, and was a talk by Professor Daniel Munch, head of research at Ofsted, curriculum research that is. Even though he didn't mention early years, these ideas are pretty much translated uh, clearly in the curriculum, in the inspection handbook. Is the intent, is the implementation, is the impact of quality of education. Yeah, so we're going to get that clear. The all that he said was relevant to the early years. And then there's a webinar on early years and education inspection framework. Listen here. I've put the link there for you to have a listen in as well. Implication of Ofsted's definition of curriculum for planning in the moment. Yeah, it has implication. The definition of the curriculum for your planning in the moment if you are doing one. So one is, I would like to challenge you here that if you follow the lesson so far and have got some understanding of what Ofsted has to say about what the curriculum is, what as a practitioner you would like children to know and do, yeah, then we can conclude fairly that planning in the moment is an implementation strategy to delivering the curriculum. That's the intent. So planning in the moment, the implementation strategy, cannot be a substitute, a replacement for the curriculum itself. Yeah, I hope this is clear. We'll be talking about this for some time now. Do you remember the 3 I's of the early years foundation the curriculum? It expects us to think about our intentions. That's the intent for what knowledge, skill, and understanding that we would like children to learn and know. Then we have to implement this intent using whatever strategy that it is that we think that will deliver the best impact possible for the children who are in our care and education. We are expected to measure or determine in whichever way that we find appropriate the impact that our intent and implementation of the curriculum have made on the children. You may use assessment and observation to notice what progress it is that children have made, where they are able to do something after you're teaching them. Once they have demonstrated a skill, knowledge, or understanding after having been taught, then we can talk about progress being made. If you agree with me that planning in the moment is not itself the curriculum designed and followed for each child, then my experience must be acceptable to you, where as a nursery we have mounted what we call provocation, which contains what we would like children to learn and know. The intent, then delivering this intent of the curriculum through the strategy of planning in the moment. That's what we've done. When I was actively supporting my staff to deliver the EOFS, well, the intent that we have planned for our children, we use the concept of the Huga approach. Yeah, the Huga approach in planning or our provocations. So a provocation is simply be explained as a spark, something to spark it. So we'll get all of the ingredients. We're trying to create a volcano, get it erupted, the lava flowing and all of that. So we'll have a big science experiment. So we'll get all of the ingredients to make it happen. So that'll be our provocation. We'll build all the language around that. All the relationships and get all of that going in a planning the moment sort of way as a way of delivering that. So something or resources that we wanted to be introduced into the environment, but which we have thought about beforehand to ensure as practitioners or knew what we exactly wanted children to learn and to know. So we as practitioners knew exactly what we wanted children to learn and to know. So the Huga approach is a Danish concept which suggests that happiness influences children's level of engagement. It stresses the use of natural objects and nature in teaching children and have a rich psychological and physiological environment. Yeah, psychological than the physical environment. So the emotional environment and then the physical environment, very important. There are variation forms of the Hugo approach in England, such as the curiosity approach. Yeah, in England, there's a curiosity approach. You can see an example of this curiosity approach here in an Ofsted Outstanding Day Nursery. Yeah, so there's a YouTube link here for you to have a look at how a nursery does it, and these have been judged as outstanding nursery tour, curiosity approach, and then learning environment. So you can have a look and then educate yourself a bit about what it is that others are doing. So my experience has been with the original Hugo approach from the Danish source in planning my provocations for children and delivering these through the planning in the moment approach. All learning intentions we actually determine decide through observation, through the collection of information from parents about what their children know and can do, their interests, their learning styles, and all that are then matched with a provocation. What it is that we would like the children to learn and know. Then all this is delivered through the planning the moment approach. The Hugo approach, or its derivative, the curiosity approach, focuses on social activity, strong community and friendship ties. By playing games together, you create common memories and strengthen bonds. So Hodgkins and Proul, 2016, they suggest that Hugo environment should be homely as possible with natural resources, warmth, and soft lighting to create comfort and coziness. I agree with Nick Gibbs. So Nick Gibbs was an ex-minister of schools when he said the evidence in favor of teacher-led instruction, that these child-centered approaches to teaching focus on eliciting and developing a third and often poorly defined skills in pupils. Teacher focus is turned away from ensuring all people are taught core academic knowledge that they need, and instead teachers attempt to inculcate creativity and problem solving as if these skills transcend domains of knowledge. Gibbs says children need to be taught in order to learn. Okay, all that Gibbs is saying is this, or how Gibbs' statement fits into all that we've been saying is this: the children will need to be taught. Okay, teaching through play, delivery of the curriculum is play based, but in that the adult is assumed as the most knowledgeable at the minute in doing all that we're doing. So the adult need to have an intent for the child, and the adult need to think about intent for the child. And in the teachable moment, the adult is explaining it to the child. You can't say that you are doing planning in the moment, so you left everything. You just you in a way left children to just interact with objects, but then your presence will be important. The physical environment is important. Your emotional environment, yourself, the adult, is important. Yeah, and then there should be teachable moments. All of this should be coming together. So, if you're doing teachable moment, good. That means you are teaching the child. You are modeling things to the child. You are scaffolding the child's support for the child. You are explaining things to the child. So it's very important that children are taught. I'm not sure if you do agree or disagree with Gibbs' thinking of teaching children and thinking about what you would like them to know and learn. So learning, in a way, is not all accidental to children. Yeah, if you think learning is accidental, therefore we do not need the psychological or the emotional environment, which is the adult. And there's no need for teachable moment. Yeah, you might want to let me know in the community area, or send me a quick email and then set forth your argument for that. If you consider the 3 R's, intent, implementation, and impact, then you come to accept that planning in the moment is an implementation strategy. We say this over and over again, but not the curriculum itself. So teachable moments. What are teachable moments? We said that they are very important, they are very crucial in planning the moment. It must be noted that the ability of the practitioner to recognize and use the teachable moment is essential to successful learning in implementing a design curriculum through planning the moment. There is no authoritative definition of teaching or teachable moment in early childhood studies literature. The closest the sector has come to defining what teachable moment is appears in the context of defining the teacher's role in the teaching and learning situation. For example, Rosser, 1972, explains it as teachers respond to the learner's natural growth and interest. Froebel, 1909, he emphasized that teachable moments by describing adults' role in children's learning and development. To observe children's natural unfolding and provide activities that will enable them to learn what they are ready to learn when they are ready to learn it. Do you remember the zone of proximal development by Vygotsky? Yeah. Do you remember scaffolding children's learning? How do you do this? How do you intervene in children's learning? And how do you know as the right timing to have intervened? Yeah, so all of these should be teachable moments, intervening in children. There are verbs for teachable moments. I have, there's a lot of them to help you in writing your observations, in knowing when you've done teachable moments, when you children are taught, at what point that teaching was, and then in writing all of that. So I found the following verbs as being useful in applying in teaching children during teachable moments as may be necessary. So issues considering remembering, verbs like acquire, choose, collect, complete, copy, define, describe, dictate, anguish, duplicate, find, identify. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Understanding, arrange, categorize, change, chart, compile, conclude, convert, defend, determine, diagram, differentiate, document, edit, estimate, explain, extrapolate, formulate, generalize, give example, illustrate, interpret, and then so on and so forth. Evaluating, appraise, argue, assess, compare, conclude, consider, contrast, critique, decide, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so there are verbs for applying and analyzing and creating as well. So my curriculum is always evolving with teachable moments based on my daily observation of the children. For example, when I was supervising children during their playtime in the playground, yeah, so this is an example of teachable moment. I saw John, who was wearing a hearing aid and eyeglasses, passing near the swing set Daniel was on. When the swing almost hit John's face and arm, I rushed to check whether he was okay. At the same time, I was thinking, this is a teachable moment to teach about playground safety. These children need to know John's uniqueness as well as the need for maintaining a safe environment for all. Of course, we talk about this the first day of preschool, but this incident led me to repeat it because safety is so important, especially for a child like John who needs special attention due to his hearing and sight problems. Of course, safety is also important, a statutory requirement of the EOIFS. So I have another example here. Monday I was teaching a lesson on a story called Help. I asked the children what they would like to do if they had, or what they would do if they had someone calling for help. They reply, call 999, i.e. the emergency phone number based in the UK. A child began to elaborate using an example of a person who was bleeding. But then I informed the child, which is my teachable moment, that if a person was bleeding, we should not touch him or her. We should just call 999 because it is not good to touch someone who is bleeding. Well, I've asked you to identify any teachable moments here, but I think I've just done that for you already. Please make a note on this and write it up community, okay, in the community area, but I've just done that for you. So you do not have to do that. Then this is another teachable moment observation that I've done. Joyce is attempting to put a nappy on a doll. Lydia, a practitioner, comes to help her. She suggests they find the changing mat, which they do. Lydia describes to Joyce what needs to happen and demonstrates this on her own doll. Joyce follows Lydia's instructions, who is the practitioner here. Step by step, they successfully put on the nappy. Both look for more dolls. Joyce runs outside and returns with some very wet dolls. Joyce saw the babies are wet. They are wet. That is because you have been washing the baby dolls outside. Lydia explains. They get more cloths, and then the babies are dried carefully. Do you want to put on the nappies? Lydia asks. Joyce happily gets the nappy and successfully puts it on. When the baby is picked up, the nappy slides off. Oh dear, perhaps it needs to be tighter, Lydia suggests. Lydia explains to Joyce how she can pull the tapes on the nappy over so that it fits more securely. Success, the nappy stays put. Yeah, so considering this, my teachable moments example above show that how a simple support, this clearly shows how a simple support of demonstrating something to the child, explaining some concept to the child, and making suggestions, children can make progress, even if that is as simple as putting a nappy on a baby doll. Then I've put out this short intent of learning. I put an enclosed schema. You might want to have a look at this and see what you think. What sort of things are you planning for your children? Do you consider schemas at all? Talk about their interests, their learning needs. What sort of information do you get from parents in order to be able to let them learn successfully, or in order to have a curriculum which you implement? So I have suggested a planning for a baby here. I would like to know what you think about it. Details of the activities and role based on the Hugo Wanderlust nature study program curriculum, summer theme of the beach. Then I'll provide large shows that Komla can use. Whoa, that's myself, my name. I'm the baby here. Can use to play in the sun area to hold, grip, and scoop with. He also uses this to press into or put the Play-Doh on top of, depending on what he would like to do with. Then clearly shows all of the areas are integrated. None of the areas is a standalone. So I've identified that this intent will be meeting PSED, language communication, physical development, and understanding the world. The physical resources that are needed in environment, wooden, very important. The environment's got to be rich. Wooden curtain rings, homemade sensory bottles, textured materials, large mirror books, hair rollers, wooden items, flour for Play-Dohs, metal cooking utensils, sensory materials, leather item, a variety of measuring cups, and all of that. So we need a very rich environment with natural things, pom-poms, in order to make sure that the children have appealing resources to engage. So in conclusion, planning the moment is an implementation strategy to deliver your curriculum, the one that you plan for children. It takes into account the physical environment, which must be natural loose parts, the presence of staff to interact with children in teaching them during the teachable moment. These observations, then written up, must show how staff support children to learn. It provides the opportunity for staff to concentrate their attention on a fewer children at a time through the use of focused children. Yeah, it is. Yeah, for in a summary, it is not the curriculum itself. Yeah, planning in the moment is not curriculum itself. You can't make children's learning up as you go along. You need to think about what they know now and what you would like them to learn and to be able to do whilst they are in your care. Thus, quality of interaction from adults and environment that affords learning. Yeah, affordances. The environment that affords learning, clear observations, and effective strategy to extend the children's thinking are the basic ingredients of planning in the moment. Paperwork not important as the interactions that adults engage children in. Observing and interacting with children is a powerful tool in planning in the moment strategy. Whenever an adult tries to force a child to do something which they do not want to do, this causes the child to show anxiety, which changes the chemical makeup of the brain. This anxiety prevents new synapses forming in the brain. Yeah, which is why we need to let their interest run and run. So we need to have a flexible routine for them. We can't be forcing them out. Synapses formation in the brain is very important. Children's level of involvement facilitate an acceptable behavior. Exactly. Timetables and interruptions do not help children during play. Yeah, child-led activities are better for children development, or better for development of children. Yeah, if you seek any further clarification on planning in the moment, you need a particular support. Yeah, I'm all ready to help you out. You can drop me a quick email at Komla, Komla, at awakeconsultancy.com. Alternatively, you can visit my website at www.awakeconsultancy.com, or better still, you can just get in touch with me through the app in the community area. You can drop me a message if you seek clarification or any questions, and then I shall provide that. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.